You don't have to know everything about the subject or the position or the place that you want to go to. Be confident. You definitely have to put in the effort, but you don't have to know everything to get started.
Yep.
Just get started.
Welcome, everyone, to the Road Less Traveled Show. This is a show about people that were successful in a previous career and left that career to go down a different path. I'm your host, Richard Coyne, and we're so pleased today to have Rebecca Moore with us on our show today, the Road Less Traveled Show. Welcome, Rebecca.
Oh, thank you for having me, Richard.
Absolutely. We definitely are glad you're with us, and let's spend a little time to get together chatting. And if you would, Rebecca, can you talk a little bit about what your former career is? What did you kind of used to do, and how long were you in that field?
Yes. So I am a PhD psychologist, clinical psychologist with a forensic emphasis. And I still have a few patients in order to love the art of it. But as far as being full-time, I am definitely not. So I started out doing a lot of forensic work, meaning that working with the criminal population and even in level 4 prisons, like San Quentin. Yes. And so it was a fascinating work. And I did that for a good 7 years, but it does get very negative. It's a very negative environment, as you can imagine. And when I got married, I married a sailor. And so I then was able to switch to the Navy population. Okay. And that made it easier for me to move with my husband and be able to have a job if I wanted. And I'm the kind of person who loves to work. And I love, again, psychology. So when we would go to the East Coast, I'd be able to work in any of the clinics or hospitals there, and then back to the West Coast down in San Diego at the naval base clinics and at the hospital at Balboa.
Okay. So I imagine the Navy population is a little safer than the prison population.
Very much so. Very much so. Man. Yeah, it was really fascinating.
Yeah, I'll tell you, again, society has to have jails, and that means we need, people to attend the prisons and, in terms of guards and psychologists and whatnot and doctors. But man, that's a tough field to work in. It definitely would be. I could see it being a very negative field and very, very depressing field in many respects. Certainly there are going to be, bright spots and hope along the way, like anything. But again, I'm that kind of person. I'm a glasses full kind of person. I'm going to find good in anything, even though it could be a tough field. But yeah, so good. Yeah, definitely. You're traveling with your husband. Is he still in the Navy?
No, he is retired about 3 or 4 years ago. Okay. But he did 33 years. So wow. Yeah. He definitely did his part.
That's impressive. Well, again, thank you to your husband for his service. Certainly, we all appreciate our military. So very good. So Rebecca, is there a funny story, from your when you were a full-time clinical psychologist? Is there a funny story you can share? Something that happened to you?
Something that happened to me.
Experience, whatever. Yeah.
Yes. Well, first of all, when you're in an intense environment, let's say going back to the prison days, you tend to gravitate to your coworkers, to find the fun for sure, and to find some sort of happiness within, let's say, that negative environment. And so I can just speak about one of my patients there in the prison, and he had what's called Korsakoff's disease. And so basically he had pickled his brain with alcohol to the point where he was completely incoherent. And so he would come to the office just because he had to. And he would say the most hilarious things like, "Ain't no case of bananas 10 pounds, my cat is bigger than that." You're like, what? Okay, great. Well, how are you feeling today? So wow. He was absolutely fascinating. But again, that that he was just hilarious every time I got to see him, because he couldn't produce a coherent sentence. So I'll say that about, one of the fun things that I enjoyed.
Yeah. Was he good natured at least, or was he kind of grumpy?
Yes, he was a grumpy person. Yes, very much so.
It'd be kind of fun if it was if he was always said it with a smile, and you kind of probably be get a little more joy out of it if he said it with a smile. But anyway, so yeah, gotcha. Wow, I'll tell you again. Obviously, thank our healthcare providers out there are needed. So definitely, you performed a worthy service for your years. And again, I'm glad you're able to still do it part time. As you to your enjoyment, so you can still keep your fingers in the field since you enjoy the field. So
yes, very much. So what was great is that, again, getting out of that and moving into helping the Navy with my skills and helping, obviously, to be able to move with them was excellent. And they are a group of wonderful people. And so that was just a delight to work with them. And so as we move forward, as we got more real estate, I was able to cut back to the point where I was able to do private practice. And of course, now just the 7 people that I have now, because it's enjoying the art of psychology rather than the demand of the systems in which of working with it.
Right. Okay.
And needing that paycheck.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So what have you transitioned into?
So, I've transitioned into multifamily syndications.
Okay.
So syndication, of course, as many of your listeners I'm sure know, is that basically, we're able to open up to investors to get the down payment for a multifamily building. And then together, all of us own the building. But myself as a lead sponsor, I make sure that the property management people are doing their job. I make sure that it's a profitable business.
Okay, that makes sense. Are there certain markets you operate in, or is it in opportunistic and different places?
No, I am strictly in the Texas area, specifically Dallas and Houston. And I find that works really well for me, because in order to really get to know a market, you need to spend time there. You need to know that market. So these are 2 markets that I feel that I have a pretty good grasp on.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And again, one of the things that we always have felt is important for us to be able to get to our property. So we don't want to, be doing, involved in something that's, across country completely, kind of a thing. So, so yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So good. Okay. So Rebecca, is there, what was kind of the deciding factor that really said, yes, I'm able to start really reducing your workload in terms of your psychology practice, in terms of really and going over into the real estate side? What kind of was that deciding factor?
That's funny too, is that we had gotten our first syndication. So our first syndication was a 94 unit building in Hurst, Texas. And it was a value add. So meaning that we would go in and rehab the units and be able to increase the rent and give them a beautiful place to live. Well, once I had gotten that, we were able to get what's called an asset management fee. And forgive me if I'm speaking to your audience in that as if they don't know, but just so everyone knows, the asset management fee, or I should say pay, because fee sounds like something you have to pay forward. But we were able to get that asset management fee, which was a few $1,000s, and that was helpful every month, as well as our distributions from the property, as well as our sponsor compensation. So we were able to have not a second income, but some more income coming in. And at that time, when I decided just to move into private practice, the Navy, as much as I love them, they also said, we need 60 days notice for a day off. I am not I'm not a sailor, but I can understand you doing that for everyone else, but those rules I've decided are not going to apply to me. So that's when I said, I can do private practice instead and make my own hours. So it was that transition of working for somebody else to working for myself. And some people might say, well, why don't you just do that in the beginning? It's because I really enjoyed working with that population of people and what their problems are. And so, but that was the one that really kicked me out the door. Knowing I had the extra padding and knowing that I could do, and getting that strictness at work. It's like, no, I've had enough of that. That's why I am doing the syndications. So there was that piece. And then eventually, as we got more buildings, and eventually COVID hit, and it's like, I don't need to do this. But we had more buildings before that time.
Right. That's crazy. 60-day notice. I mean, again, I get it. That doesn't apply to being sick, because of course you can't plan being sick. But if you're trying to take a day off to go visit somebody or whatever, 60 days, that's insane.
No, it also didn't work for me to be able to go and see my properties too.
Right.
So it was like this. Oh, because I was in San Diego and the properties were in Dallas.
Right.
And it's like, no.
That's not a quick little drive. That's a flight and, hotel and certainly and all that good stuff. I mean, wow. Yeah. So that's crazy. So as you were really kind of moving toward the syndication side and syndicating these large multifamily properties, like you said, were there some obstacles you had to overcome, some things initially that you had to get through?
Yes, a lot. They were not obstacles necessarily for me, but they would be for the broader person. So I had met a mentor in Dallas because he was over here in Anaheim and had said, let me show you how to do this. And so I would fly to Dallas often to learn the market, and he would have all sorts of events so that we could learn. So whether it was underwriting skills, whether it was touring apartments, getting to know other people within the field, because you need to have investors. So people who knew what I was doing and understood the model are more likely to invest with you. So I would be going all the time. And for me, it was difficult thinking it's nearly $1,000 every time I go because of the air flight and the hotel and food and what have you. So for me, it was like, oh gosh, we're spending so much money. But my husband was really great in saying, this will all pay off. You enjoy it. This is something that you are good at. You'll just go. This is important. And so sure enough, I did. Sorry, keep losing these as I talk. So I kept going, but it's a challenge, think about what woman will go by themselves without their husband at least once every other month to Dallas for a number of days, staying in a hotel and learning this business. So for me, it was actually fun, but I got a lot of like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're doing this. But it was fun for me.
Yeah, it's a big investment in terms of just, like you said, money, but also time, because one of the things that we took to heart and we strongly believe and we strongly recommend, again, is education. You've got to really kind of learn the language. You've got to kind of embed yourself in the community to really start to meet people. And it could be your future investors, but at the same point in time, it's people who are practitioners and experts in this area. And that's definitely it's not something you decide to do and all of a sudden you got a deal tomorrow. Finding that deal may take you 6 months, a year. It took us a while to get our first deal, but from day one where we teamed up, we always, even though we hadn't done a deal before, we carried ourselves with, we understood the language. We never met a broker who was kind of like, wait a minute, show me proof of funds, or show me your track record there, guys. No, we never had that question even presented to us, because, we knew we were talking about, we carried ourselves well, and that kind of thing. And that came through education. So yeah, very nice.
Very important. And a partner who has much more experience than you do. That's exactly what happened for me. I was able to find my very good friend now as my first partner, who already had a number of syndications under his belt. So that worked out, really great. And I would suggest that for everyone. Partner with a more experienced person first, for sure.
That's right. Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. You can learn more from others than you can learn on your own, sure, but you're going to get faster. You're going to get there faster by learning from others. So, yeah.
And it's going to cost you a lot less in mistakes.
That's right. That's right. So, Rebecca, was it the 94 unit? What was your first victory on that really kind of solidified your thinking that, yes, this is the right path for me? Yes, this is going to be the right direction to go. Was it the 94 deal, or was it something else?
No, it was that 94 unit deal. And so my friend Dustin and I, we underwrote night after night after night. He was in Dallas, I was in California, and we would be on the phone checking the numbers, talking to the insurance people, talking to the tax people, talking to all the people that you need to do and get quotes from to bring down a syndication. And of course, he knew some of the brokers in Dallas and was able to introduce me to them. But it took us a good year to find something, because for him, I'm so lucky that he said, Rebecca, your first deal has to be a home run. It has to be just right, because this is your reputation. This will carry you, because if you mess it up, it will be very, very hard to recover. So we were able to find this 94 unit by a mom and pop, seller who was ready to begin to, actually, they wanted to get a larger building. And anyhow, it did. It ended up to be a smoking deal. And we got our investors a very healthy return, and I'm just thrilled. It is my crowning achievement, because again, this is something so outside of my wheelhouse. So, for example, in thinking about this transition that we're talking about for those in different careers, I'm a psychologist, right? Yes, I know statistics, but I am not a numbers person. I don't know about how to evaluate a building. But it was only because I had Dustin helping me to learn all these things that I was able to begin to get better at it. Again, especially underwriting. I'm not a finance person. I didn't learn that in school, but that was okay. Because if somebody else can do it, then I can do it too. All I have to do is keep trying.
That's right. That's right.
And so I'm much better at it now. But
yeah. Well, excellent. Good. So where are you today in your journey, Rebecca? What do you see that kind of down the road, and what's the future look like for you?
Well, great. Yeah. So within our journey, my husband and I, we really wanted to be not hands-on, but hands-on enough with the property management team to help them to make sure the building is really running smoothly. And so we have quite a few of them under our belt right now, and we realize it's stressful. It is quite a bit of work, and we're more in our retirement years. I mean, maybe I'm not looking like that, but my husband is, and so I'm really pushing for him to be able to retire. So instead of acquiring, asset managing, just doing all the work in between, again, I have moved to more of the newer buildings, so more of an A-class building, and we already have an asset management team that will take care of all that, all the details. And so we're moving more in that direction, where I am helping my investors to go ahead and invest and be able to get a very nice building, low expenses, not a lot of chaos that a C-class property might have, let's say.
Right.
And so helping them get into that direction where we're not doing 100% of the work. So I think that will be more of our model going forward rather than getting a huge value add.
Yeah.
So audience, what I'm saying is that, not a big construction effort, not having to, take this building to the next level. We're buying the next level building and keeping it nice.
Nice. Yeah, there's a lot to be said for less headaches along the way, in a newer building for sure. Yeah. Yeah. Gotcha. So, Rebecca, is there something that you do perhaps through your company or personally that you can share that you do to help to give back and help others in some way? I mean, certainly in your clinical days, you were helping people all the time, but it would be more recently with your company. Anything you mentioned?
Yes. So mostly, the biggest impact I think that we can have is making sure that at all of our buildings, we have constant, consistent events. So anything from the Memorial Day party to like coming up a big Halloween party, these are things that I think are really important to enrich the lives of our tenants. And that's really what we're doing this all about, in that making it not only a nicer inside, outside community, but also engaging with them to have fun. So I've got quite a bit on my plate for making sure that that's happening at our buildings. But also, let's say Thanksgiving, we do go, I've often been seen with my managers walking around, giving out pies and things. Now our buildings are getting a bit too big for that. My 100 doors, I'm good, but I have to rely on my management for the larger buildings. But something, just a way to make their lives a little bit better.
Yeah. And that's the kind of effort toward your residents that maybe is the difference between them moving and staying, because they feel like a part of a community. Certainly if there's a job change situation that obviously, can't be helped unless it happens to be, a job 5 miles away. But certainly, but yeah, engaging your residents is definitely something that is can pay some dividends in terms of really having people stay. We've done that in most of our properties as well, and the residents appreciate it. So good.
I believe they do. I know that they have fun, and I think the kids enjoy it as well. And so, just where many apartments, I'm sure, don't do that. So when you can at least offer them the opportunity to be with others, and I think and again be appreciated, it goes a long way.
Yep. So, Rebecca, is there something that you've recently implemented to maybe that's helping you and Starboard Equity grow that you can mention?
Well, definitely. I've hired more VAs. I've hired online business manager, so she helps me quite a bit, and that is helping me grow. But also having the VAs doing the social media, being able to reach out to you, that is definitely been a plus. Yep.
Good. Yeah, definitely. That can be very helpful, and it's often very cost effective to hire a virtual person. Again, we've all, I think, a lesson that I knew well long before COVID, because I've always, for the past 20 years, I've been a mobile worker where, all I needed was a phone and a laptop for me to have an office. I could work at a hotel lobby, I can work at a client site, but anyway, but COVID taught us a lot about the mobility that is really, motivated people are going to get their work done at home. They're going to be, and again, if everybody thinks the solution to productivity is to drag people back into the office, that's a complete horse, anyway, because how much time is blown standing around talking about at the coffee machine or the water cooler, as they say, oh, did you see the game last night, kind of thing. So, motivated people get their job done no matter where they are. And that's awesome about VAs, because you can hire a great person that is going to cost you not a lot of money, and then they're going to work wherever they are, and it helps you both. So very nice. Good. So, Rebecca, what advice would you share with somebody who's considering making a path change?
I would say, first of all, if you can transition slowly, then that might be very useful for you, so that you can still feel comfortable in getting the income that you have, and then be able to move slowly into your new path, if that's at all possible. For me, I was still able to work my 40 a week hour job and be able to go on the weekends to Dallas to find my syndications, and in the evenings talk with people in order to find that best building. So that was very useful. But another thing that we also discussed is recognizing, from me, I did not know real estate. So if you have that passion and that drive to work after your 40-hour work, you don't have to know everything about the subject or the position or the place that you want to go to. You will learn, and it's okay. Be confident. If somebody else can do it, you can do it too. You definitely have to put in the effort, but you don't have to know everything to get started. Just get started.
Yeah. It's not like you're trying to personally put a man on the moon. You're putting together a real estate deal. Absolutely, there's a lot to learn. I'm not suggesting it's easy and you snap your fingers and it's there, but absolutely you can learn it. And even if you've never worked in the field, and that is what you said you came from, you never worked anywhere close to the field. You're not a financial person. So, but guess what? You're doing these deals now, and you figured out how to make it happen. So excellent.
Yeah, so that's why one of my partners is really good at the finance piece. You talk to the lenders, you understand all the ins and outs.
Yep.
I trust you, which can be hard for other people too, is that, you've got to trust but verify what your partners are doing, but you don't have to know everything.
Yeah. Again, to go back to the Henry Ford story, way back, people accused him of being ignorant, and that was certainly not the case. But anyway, a bunch of reporters or whatever came into his office and they were peppering him with all these questions. He sat and listened. Then he called on 10 different phones that were sitting on his desk or whatever it was. He called all of his advisors, all of his key people in and asked them the questions. Boom, 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 boom. And they provided the answers. And guess what? That left him, as he said, that left him to keep his mind to do the harder work, which is actually thinking. But again, he was certainly not ignorant. He knew how to get work done by hiring smart people to get it done, right? So you don't have to have all the answers. Find the right people to help you get these things done. And actually, that goes back to the book, Who Not How, is a book that kind of talks about that as well. So
yes.
Well, very good. Yes. Well, Rebecca, what's the best way for folks to reach out to you and see what you're up to at Starboard Equity and learn more?
Well, that's great. Yes, you can find us at starboardequity.com. And on our website, you can find out what we're doing. But even more so, if you'd like to join the Starboard Equity Club, then you'll get monthly newsletters and see just what Warren and I are doing.
Fantastic. Well, great. Well, certainly, Rebecca, we want to thank you for being on the Road Less Traveled show. I appreciate your time, and thanks for being with us.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Absolutely. We also want to thank our listeners. Please continue to give us a 5-star rating so we can bring you more great content like our show today with Rebecca Moore. And we also want to remind everybody that a couple important things Park Capital Partners has going on. First, we have the Park Capital Partners Value Add Fund, which is a 506c fund open today to accredited investors. Second, we have the Park Capital Partners Foundation, which is a 501(c) nonprofit that we created as another way that we give back. The way that works quickly is first, we fund the operations of that foundation, so all the money donated goes to do its best work, which is to help others. Second, we donate personally. Third, we donate corporately. And finally, when investors invest with us, we make a donation to honor that investor to a pre-selected list of 15 different charities, including Wounded Warrior and many others. So please reach out. We're happy to have a conversation anytime. ParkCapitalPartnersLLC.com, ParkCapitalPartnersLLC.com. Thanks again, folks, for joining us. And remember, the road less traveled may be calling you. We recommend that you listen and take action. Thanks for joining.